Hello everyone. Hello and welcome to Secrets of a Victorious Mind. The goal of this live chat series is to connect you to the wisdom, the transformational methods, and the courage of the people that I follow to live and lead a life I truly love, so that you too can learn from their methods and courage to lead and live a life of victory. Today we have with us a very, very special guest who I've read most of her books of, and I'm going to tell you all about her. She's someone who's seen death in the eye, and I'm sure a lot of you would have read her book, Dying to Be Me. Why her story is so remarkable and unique is that after a 4-year battle with cancer, Anita fell into a coma and was given days to live. As her doctors gathered to revive her, she journeyed into an NDE, a near-death experience, where she was given a choice to return to her physical form or to continue into this new realm. She chose the former. She chose to come back into her physical form. And when she regained consciousness, her cancer began to heal. And the doctors were amazed to see that she's completely free of those tumors and the cancer indicated.
Hi.
Hi, Aarti. How are you?
Good. How are you? So good to see you. You look lovely.
Oh, so do you, but thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So, how are you doing today? It's early morning. It's 8 a.m. for you, right?
It is. It's really early. I have to get up at 6:30, but I really wanted to meet you and do this, and yeah, so thank you for inviting me. I'm usually not a morning person.
Oh, like me, even I'm not a morning person. And it's almost like 11 p.m. here, but it's perfect for India. It's 8:30, 8:40 approximately now.
Yeah, that's a good time for India. Yes.
Yeah, it's perfect. So I would like to tell you a little bit more about Anita. She is New York Times best-selling author of Dying to Be Me, What If This Is Heaven? And she recently published a new book, Sensitive is the New Strong, which I just finished very, very recently, the entire audiobook of. She's considered among the top 100 of the world's most spiritually influential living people. And she currently lives in Los Angeles with her husband, Danny.
That's right.
Super. So, although Anita, you were in the coma at that time, of course, this is a while ago, and you were acutely aware about everything happening around you. Sorry, I've dived right into it because I know you have only half an hour and I don't want to waste more time. So, coming back to that whole near-death experience that you went through, the NDE, I would love for you to tell people what exactly happened, that how did you cure yourself so fast? What exactly happened, where you could actually feel the frenzy or, the emotional frenzy of your family and the doctor's emergency. How did it all happen?
Well, what happened was that so I was at absolute end stage cancer. I'd gone into a coma. The doctors told my family that I wasn't going to come out of the coma. And my body at that point, like I had tumors the size of golf balls from the base of my skull, all around my neck, under my arms, in my chest, all the way down to my abdomen. My body had stopped absorbing nutrition. So I was losing weight dramatically, and I weighed about 85 pounds. I looked like a skeleton. My muscles had deteriorated. I hadn't been able to walk for many months prior to going into the coma. My lungs had been filled with fluid. So if I would even lie down, if I would even lie flat, I would choke on my own fluid. So I was in so much pain and so much discomfort. And then finally my organs, all my organs like my kidneys and all started to shut down one by one. And that's when I went into the coma, and the doctors told my family my organs were now shutting down and that I wasn't going to come back. But what happened was that I felt as if, even though my physical body was in the coma and that my eyes were closed, I felt as if I was no longer in my body. And I was acutely aware of everything that was going on in the room around me. I was aware of the doctors, my family. My family were distraught. But the main thing is that because I was no longer attached to my body, I felt incredible. I felt light and free, and all the pain was gone, and the discomfort was gone, and the fear was gone. I had been filled with so much fear. I feared death. I feared the cancer. I feared the treatment. I feared everything. And now all that fear was gone. And I just felt so incredible and light and free.
You were saying that the doctors, they had actually said that now you're no more, or was it in during the coma that this happened? So you were alive but in a coma, and then this
Yes.
whole experience happened.
So my physical body was still alive. My heart was beating, but as far as the doctors were concerned, I was not there anymore. My heart was beating, but no one was home, basically, as the saying goes.
Right, right. And you could feel the emotions of your brother who was in another country, apparently. And tell us
Yes.
about that. You could actually feel the emotions and you could hear their conversations.
Yes, even the conversations that were taking place outside of that hospital room, like out in the nurses' station, what the doctors were telling my family, I could hear and see and feel everything. I could feel their emotions as though their emotions were my emotions. They were, it's as if that when we are not in our bodies and we are just pure consciousness, our consciousness can connect with everybody else's consciousness and feel what they are feeling. That's what it felt like. But I continued to expand, if you will, and go deeper or further. And I felt that when I hit another level, I was surrounded by my deceased loved ones. I was surrounded by spiritual beings, including my dad, who had passed away 10 years ago, and other beings.
Your friend Sony.
Yes, exactly. My friend Sony. And then there were other beings who I didn't recognize them for this lifetime. But what I felt was a tremendous amount of love. I felt like all these other beings had been with me and around me my whole life, as if they were like my guardian angels or my spirit guides. And I felt so loved, like just loved unconditionally.
But they didn't have a physical form. So how did you recognize them? Just with their presence, you could feel the energy, or were you able to see something that told you, like, how did you recognize that this is your dad and this is your friend and these are not recognizable? And are they just, was it energetic? Like when you feel hungry, there's nothing visible. You're just hungry, you're hungry. Was it
Yes,
just the presence that made you feel that they were there, or how was it?
it is the presence, but it's almost like they have you, they make sure you know. It's like you get the image, even though they don't have a physical form. It's like their energy and your energy merge. It's like their thoughts and your thoughts merge. So it's like immediately you get the image. It's like, that's my dad. And we don't even need to converse. It's like everything he wants me to know, I know. So there isn't like this linear time of exchanging messages.
Right.
And he wanted me to know that he loved me unconditionally, and he always had. But during physical life, he had never known how to show me love. I'd never felt loved by him. But now on the other side, I realized, that was like his cultural limitations and everything. But actually underneath, at his soul level, he did love me. He loved me very much, unconditionally. And
Yeah, some people express very differently, right?
exactly. He had been very, very strict during my life, and I had always felt that he didn't love me because he was more, he was strict, and he was more about the discipline and reprimanding me and making sure that I was a good Hindu girl and all these things. And so I actually used to feel that he didn't love me, that he didn't care about me.
Right. So when you got to this point and you had the choice to cross over to the other realm or come back to your physical body, and when you saw yourself lying down there with those blisters in that fragile condition, you still decided to come back to that body, even though the feeling that you were in was so magnificent. Why did you take that decision? Was it your husband that was standing there, and was it for him, for his love, that you decided to come back?
A big part of it was absolutely yes, because of his love. So at first, I didn't want to come back because when I saw how sick my body was, I felt that not only was I suffering in that body, so was my family. There was no point, and it was so beautiful on that side. But this realm that I was in is like what I call a realm of clarity. I understood why it was that I had got sick. I understood how it was that all my thoughts and decisions during my lifetime and my feelings of like I never loved myself. I've always beat myself up, suppressed myself, made myself small. And I realized all of these things contributed to me getting sick. And because I never loved myself, I've always feared everything in life. I've always feared displeasing people, not being good enough. I've never been who I am supposed to be. Our souls come here with a purpose, with an intention. I've never let my soul be who it wanted to be because I was always trying to please other people or trying to win approval.
But
And
you
never,
also absorbed the energies of your best friend who was going through the exact same thing. And that happened because you were an empath, which I got to know more about in your now third book, right?
yes, yes, exactly. And as my best friend was going through her illness, I was there for her, and I didn't allow myself to have to like live my own life while she was going through her illness. I would feel guilty doing anything for me or that was fun because I would feel she's dying. How dare I go and enjoy myself or take
How
care
dare
of
I go shopping, or how
how
dare I
dare
eat something? Yeah.
exactly. So it literally, I stopped living because my friend was going through this. And I have never put myself first or taken care of myself. There was always somebody more needy than me. I was one of those people that always felt, who am I to do this when there's someone that needs more than I do, or there's someone who's more needy than I am, or who deserves more than I do. And so when I was on this other side, in this realm of death, I realized that we're supposed to take care of ourselves because my soul is as important as anyone else's soul. Each one of us, just as much as I love to take care of other people, I need to realize that even I need taking care of. And even my soul has come here for a purpose that needs to be expressed. And so it was with that understanding that I felt that my dad and my best friend said, now that you know the truth, if you choose to go back, that your body will heal. And the other thing I realized was that my husband's purpose was linked to mine. And if I didn't go back, he wouldn't be able to complete his purpose. I realized it wasn't my time and I hadn't completed my purpose. But I wasn't being forced to come back, but it was that realizing that my husband's purpose was linked to mine, and if I didn't come back, he wouldn't be able to complete his purpose either. And
Right.
yes,
So,
so
so
then,
this brand new you with this brand new realization that had dawned, and this magnificent feeling which you knew you would carry and you would automatically heal. You knew it, right?
I
So
knew
what
it.
was, yeah.
Yeah.
So once you came back, what was the first thing you did when you came back home?
So when I came, the first thing I did was eat chocolate ice cream.
Right.
In fact, even before I came home, I was still in the hospital. I came out of the coma and I was very groggy, and I kept saying to everyone, I'm not going to die. It's not my time. They thought I was delirious. The doctors said, no, she's just going in and out of the coma. This happens. But the following day, I got stronger and stronger, and they realized I'm not going back in the coma and I am healing. And then the tumors started to shrink. And then I said, I'm ready to eat real food, because I had been getting nutrition through a tube. And so while I was still in the ICU, you know, I said, you can take out the tube. I'm ready to eat real food. And the doctors said that, no, we can't. You're still too weak. And I said, no, really, I'll prove it to you. I want to eat real food. So they gave me a hospital menu, which was like full of really dull, sick people food. I said, I don't want this. I want real food, like chocolate ice cream. And I specifically said, I want Belgian chocolate ice cream.
Wow.
And I hadn't eaten that for months, like maybe
They must
years.
have let out a laugh.
They did laugh, and my husband actually went to the store and bought it for me and brought it back.
Oh,
when
nice.
when I was released from hospital, to actually even before I was released, when I was up and walking around, I kept saying to them, I want to go home. I want to go home. And literally from the first day I was released to go home, the first thing I did was I went shopping.
Amazing.
I hadn't
Great.
gone out, you know, just outside and looked at stuff and shops and people in so long. It was like, I was like in Disneyland at that time. I remember the feeling.
Right. And then that whole realization that happened about you being an empath and about you being a people pleaser and someone who, you know, subjugated her own feelings and all of that, you still wrote a book now recently which says sensitive is the new strong. Can you tell me how is sensitive the new strong in your words? Because of course I've read it, but I want people to know about it. And why is being an empath a strength in an increasingly harsh world?
Well, the reason for me saying that sensitive is the new strong is it's actually a bigger reason. It's more what I call a macro. So there's a macro to it, and which is how it impacts the world, and the micro is how it impacts us as an individual. So I'll start with how it impacts the world. If we look at the world today, it is in a bit of a mess, isn't it? It's in a total mess. I mean, even saying a bit of a mess is an understatement. The world is
racial discrimination, war, name it.
Yes. Now, if you look at all our global leaders, how many of them can you really say are empathetic, compassionate, put people first, feed the poor? When you look at our world, when you look at our governments, even, let's say, even before COVID, our governments were all spending far more money killing people and killing people of other nations, developing armies and nuclear weapons, and they were far more interested in spending all our tax dollars in killing people than they were in feeding people and helping people. That is the way that they believe that we evolve. It's like we believe that our leaders need to be ruthless. We believe when we define the word strength and when we worship people, what do we worship? We worship people who are competitive, ruthless, who win at all costs. And because we worship such people, because we put such people in leadership roles, we have created this world that we've created. We have to take responsibility. If we want to change the world, we have to take partial responsibility that we have contributed in co-creating this reality that we live in. And how have we co-created it? We've co-created it by defining strength as being as brute force, as ruthlessness, competitiveness, winning at all costs. And we worship that in people. But we don't like the world we live in. And if we don't like the world we live in, then we're going to have to start defining strength in a different way. We have to start seeing things like compassion, sensitivity, empathy, collaboration, these traits as being strengths. And I see that if we continue the way that we have been going, we are at the brink of our own extinction. If we want to continue to evolve as a species, we need to embrace empathy, compassion, collaboration, and all these things as strengths. We need to redefine what it means to be strong. We need to redefine the kind of person we put and vote into leadership roles if
So
we
true.
want to continue as a race, as a planet. And so that is why I say sensitive is the new strong. It has to be for the continuation of our human race. That's the reason for that title on a macro level. On a micro level, as an individual, as you and me, as humans, the sensitive people are the ones who hide. We're the ones who've been oppressed. We're the ones who feel, oh my God, the world is too harsh. I'm going to stay inside. My message is to all of you sensitive people. Let's stop hiding. Let's all come together and come forward. Let's start voting for the right people. Let's start strengthening ourselves. Let's start giving ourselves to be, to create a revolution, an empath revolution. Let's create a compassion revolution. Let's create a revolution in what we want to see in the world instead of constantly fighting against what we don't want. Let's come together and come out of our hiding, because empaths are usually introverts. They hide, they're hermits. They feel the world is too harsh. What I'm saying is we can come together and we can actually start to develop a voice and say, wait a minute, this is what we want to see more of. We want to see more compassion. We can actually come together and become the voice of what we want to see in the world.
Right. Right. Very, very beautifully said. And I don't think there's anybody who could have put it as beautifully as you have right now. So yeah, but I just wish all the leaders all around the world would be more compassionate, because if just one country or one sect of people choose a compassionate and then, sensitive leader, but the others are still the same ruthless people, then these ruthless people are going to actually eat up the rest, of the very compassionate people. So it's very important that we all rise in our frequency together and choose these leaders at the same time, so that one is not going to overpower the other and,
Yes.
land up doing exactly what is happening right now.
100%. And this is why empaths shy away from becoming leaders, because when they see what's happening out there, they feel that they're going to be eaten alive. So they shy away from becoming leaders. And this is the problem that we're having. And so this is why I want to create an empath revolution or an empath evolution. So where all the empaths, we come together in a unified voice, but you have to find your own voice so you can come. This is what, so basically the aim of my book, of Sensitive is the New Strong, is for empaths to realize that you are needed in the world right now. You need to develop these tools. Because when I was doing what I was doing, what happened is that, let me tell you a little bit of why I was inspired to write this book and why I wrote it to help the individual empath as well as, the planet as a whole. It's because, as you know, Wayne Dyer discovered my story and put me on the stage, and then my book came out and everything happened. And so then as I was out in this world, I didn't even know I was an empath. At the time I had an NDE, at the time I wrote Dying to Be Me, I didn't even know there was such a word as empath.
Yeah,
but
so how did you recognize it then?
So that's, and so that's the journey, was that I was then out there sharing my story, and I thought that the world would welcome such a story, where people would say, oh my gosh, I want to know more. How did your cancer heal? And we need to understand this better. What I didn't realize was that the world doesn't work that way. There was a lot of pushback. Of course, there were a lot of people who loved my story and who read my book. But there are huge organizations, like particularly if you take the medical paradigm, there was a lot of pushback in what I was saying. I thought they would be interested because I thought they would want to know, how did your cancer heal, so that we can research it, so that we can implement it. On the contrary, because it's not something that can be bottled as a pharmaceutical or sold or exploited or made money out of, they're not only are they not interested, They actually push back and debunk you and make you feel like you're crazy, like you're woo-woo, so that people don't you. So when I was exposed to that, I was like, wow, you mean there are people that would do that? Why would they do that? And I became really, really sensitive to that. And I started to back down, and I started to think, I can't do this. I just can't keep sharing my story. But when I stopped, when I would back down, other people who wanted to hear it, who were needy and hungry for this kind of thing, they were like, no, you can't back down. We want
You
this.
also met the shaman, right, who told you that you can't back down. You have to tell your story, and that's what your purpose is for coming back.
Yes, that you have to share your story. You don't have to fight the people who are debunking or skeptics or whatever. Let them do their thing. Don't fight against them. You just go and share your story and share it with the people who are ready to hear it, the people who are ready to go in that direction, the people who are ready to know that there is more out there than just a five-sensory world that believes only in the physical, that only believes in pharmaceutical and physical healing. And so you share it with the people who are ready to go deeper. That's where I was getting my encouragement from. And so as I was stayed strong to do that, I realized that that's when I started to realize, like, somebody told me, you're an empath, that's why you're struggling. So that's when somebody said that, I was like, okay. So I looked up that word, and when I looked it up, I was like, yes,
This is me.
This is me. I was like, this is me. I'm like a sponge. I absorb things. I absorb other people's energies. When somebody criticizes me, I take it to heart. I wear it. I can't just let it go. I'm like, oh my God, what did I do wrong? How can I change? How can I win them over? That's what an empath does. It doesn't sit right with you that these people are criticizing you. So when I started to understand that, I thought, okay, I've got to find somebody out there in the public eye who is bigger, more well-known, more successful, who's out there, like a global leader, whatever, someone, more famous than me and everything, who I can then look to as a mentor to see how do they deal with it. I couldn't find anybody.
And then Wayne Dyer came about, is it? Or did you, he contacted you, right?
He contacted me. But the thing is, and bless his soul, Wayne Dyer, I love Wayne Dyer.
I love him too.
But he is not an empath. He is super sensitive. So this is after Wayne Dyer discovered me, and I was already out there in the world, after he discovered me. He doesn't absorb what people are saying. He just keeps going. He's very strong that way. He is amazing. And he passed away. He died. But so when I realized that the reason I'm struggling is because I'm an empath and I'm already out there in the public eye. And I thought, how do other people who are empaths, who are in the public eye, how do they do it? How do they deal with the world, with public criticism, with people trying to pull them down? How do they deal with staying out there and being a leader in what they do? And that's where I struggled with finding somebody who I could role model. I was looking for a role model. That's what I'm trying to say. I was looking for a role model so that I could learn the tools on how to be an empathic leader. When I say leader, I mean public figure.
Yeah.
Because here I was getting out there being told, no, you got to share the story. You got to get out in public. Wayne Dyer had discovered my story and said, you got to be in public. You got to be in public. But I was struggling in public as an empath. So I'm trying to look for another empath who's out in the public. And I was like, wow, there aren't really any. Everybody who's out really in the public, who are out there trying to change the world, are not so much empaths. And so most of the empaths, they go to a certain level and then they start to struggle.
Yeah.
And so that's when I realized that, okay, I'm going to have to create my own tools to try and figure out. Yeah.
To push the empaths ahead.
Yes.
With how to deal with this, how to deal with absorbing other people's energies and not getting cancer to realize that you
Yes,
don't have to go through this, and you'd rather accept self-love and accept yourself for who you are, rather than just land up getting sick.
exactly, exactly. So that's what inspired me to write the book, is that I wanted empaths to be able to have the tools, especially empaths like you, Aarti. You're in the public eye. You're you're an actress. You're like very beautiful, and you're out there. You're well known. You're very well known. And so I was thinking that empaths need to be able to continue to grow and be in the public eye and even take on leadership roles, but they need the right tools. So the empath books I was reading, they really helped me in that they made me realize who I am. But one of the things I noticed that a lot of people had in common when they would talk about empaths is they were talking about boundaries, that you have to have boundaries. And so what I realized, though, is that if I have too many boundaries, I'm shutting myself down from the outside world. And what I wanted to do was I wanted to figure out how could I expand my energy to the point where instead of me absorbing other people's energy and me taking on the what I'll call negativity, or me becoming drained by them, what I wanted to do was I wanted to expand my energy so that I then become the light for other people that uplifts other people. So in other words,
Beautiful.
I lift other people with my energy rather than I become drained by other people because of their
Right.
energy. I wanted to do the opposite. I didn't want to boundary myself and block myself from other people. I actually wanted to tell empaths that you have this special gift. Because you are an empath, you are connected, you are highly intuitive, you are highly connected to the other realm, to the spirit world. You are highly connected to your spirit guides. But because you're an empath, not only are you connected to the spirit world and your guides, you're also very intuitive to other people. And the reason you become drained is because you are giving your power to the other people and allowing them to drain you. But if you change that and instead you give your power to your own higher self, your spirit guides, and allow them, work through them, allow them to channel through you, you then uplift your energy. And then you, instead of having to boundary other people, when you take yourself out in the world, you end up uplifting the world. But the first thing is to allow yourself to know, first thing is to know that you are highly intuitive. Many empaths have
Right.
forgotten that. You're highly
Right.
intuitive, you're highly connected. Stop giving your power away to the news media, to social media, to other people with loud voices. Do not give yourself to your power away to other human beings, not even me. Give your power to your own higher self, your own guidance system. That's where your power lies. And the more you love yourself, the more you trust your own intuition. And
Right.
when you start to do that, that's when you become powerful. That's when other people can't drain you. And in fact, when drained people come around you, they become uplifted by you.
Yeah, beautifully said again. Do you think it's important for empaths to learn to say no so that they say yes to themselves?
Yes, absolutely. And yes, it's important for them to learn to say no. Empaths struggle with saying no, they really do. And so that's how they lose themselves. They say yes to things they don't want to do. And if you imagine that you keep saying yes to things that you don't want to do, you end up becoming somebody who you are not.
Yeah, because the guilt kills them, right? They're constantly feeling obligated, and then it's a choice between making, they feel that maybe the other person will feel so bad, so I should not say no, I should say yes. But they're doing bad to themselves because they don't really want to do it. And they still go
Yes.
ahead and push themselves to do it, and they, cover themselves for that obligation, but they're not taking care of themselves. So they keep saying yes. So how does one, express that no without feeling that guilt?
So first of all, the thing that I would say to an empath is that if you imagine that everybody who has said yes to you were doing it out of obligation and not because they wanted to, how would you feel? Like imagine if everyone you said that, hey, can you do me a favor, or are you free to do this, or would you have lunch with me, or will you, and imagine if in their heart they didn't want to do it, but they said yes because they didn't want to displease you. How would you feel if you knew that? Wouldn't you wish that they had been honest?
Absolutely.
Doesn't it make you feel worse that they didn't? Doesn't it make you feel even more guilty, the fact that they didn't want to do it, but they still did it for you?
So do you suggest they ask this kind of question directly?
No, so what I'm saying is that you would rather that person be honest. You
Right.
would rather they be honest and say, hey, you know what, I really won't be able to do it today, but maybe we can fix another time. Or you would rather they be honest. So at the very least, you need to be honest. And there are tactful ways of saying no. So the first step is to realize that when you don't say no, when you feel like saying no, you're actually being dishonest, and you wouldn't want someone to do that with you.
And that's not being selfish.
And
Saying
that's
no
not,
is
so that's the,
self-love.
yeah, that is self-love. And then the second thing to realize is that saying no doesn't mean you're being aggressive, and you don't have to say no in an aggressive way. There are many gentle ways to say no, many. So that's the second thing to realize. The third thing to realize is that many empaths believe that being assertive and being aggressive are the same thing. They are not. They're absolutely not the same thing. And here's the difference. Being aggressive means when someone is aggressive to you, it means they want something from you that doesn't benefit you. They are trying to manipulate you or control your life. Being assertive means I want to try and control my life, but I have no interest in controlling yours. Like, I don't want you to control me, and I don't want to control you. That is assertive. Aggressive is, I want to control me, but I also want to control you. So as long as you are being assertive and not aggressive, you're fine. Being passive, which is what many empaths are, means I'm allowing you to control me. And you don't want to be passive. So when you say yes, when you mean no, what you are doing is you're being passive. You are allowing them to control you. So you have to realize there's passive, there's assertive, there's aggressive. You want to be an assertive. Being passive means you are allowing them to control your life. Being aggressive means you are controlling their life. Being assertive means I don't control you, you don't control me. You live you do you, I do me.
Right. Lovely. Okay, I have the last two questions for you. I know we're running out of time, but very beautifully, I love the way this is written. Selfishness comes from too little self-love, not too much, as we compensate for our lack. Why is selfishness not an expression of self-love, and how does the theory of compensation of our lack work here?
So when you don't love yourself, so think about this. When you don't love yourself, what happens? What happens is that you don't allow yourself to have joy or fun. When you don't love yourself, you think you are unlovable. You think you are unworthy. You think you are undeserving. So when you think these things, you don't allow yourself to receive. You don't allow yourself to receive gifts or abundance or anything from the universe or from life or from other people. And when somebody loves you, you almost don't believe them because you think you're unlovable when you don't love yourself. And so when somebody loves you, you're like, oh, they must want something from me, or I can't believe they love me. Or you overcompensate, when someone loves you, you're like, oh my gosh, I have to I have to do a lot. I have to prove myself to them, to show them that I am worthy of their love. But what happens over time is, because you don't love yourself, as was the case with me, you become really drained because you don't allow yourself any pleasures, and you don't allow yourself to be loved, and you become really, really drained. And when you become drained, you become needy. You start to become needy. And when you start to become needy, you need people around you to fulfill those needs. So the thing is that
when you love yourself enough, you don't need that validation from someone else. You don't aggressively demand it, you know, that
exactly,
to the extent where they feel you're being selfish.
Exactly. You said it perfectly, 100%. When you are comfortable, when you love yourself, your receiving channels are open. You are great with finding joy and happiness, and you know you are worthy and deserving. You don't need other people to fulfill it. You're not needy. And because and so what happens is, when somebody doesn't love themselves and they're needy, it's like they walk around with this hole that needs to be filled by other people. But when somebody does love themselves, they're so filled with joy and love because they know how to receive, they know how to find joy. And you find that everybody wants to be around them. They're of high vibe. The needy people who don't love themselves are very, very low vibe. They have low energy because they don't fulfill themselves. And because their energy is low, they draw in people who also have low energy. And these people are very needy.
Right. So the next time you see a person who is being selfish, you should not feel bad and look at them and say, you know, you're being so selfish. How could you be so selfish? You have to understand that they're lacking that self-love, and they need to be shown that self-love, and they need to be made to realize that they need to love themselves a little more, so that they don't need to feel selfish and, demand that kind of energy or love from somewhere else.
100%. You know,
Right.
and it's so spot on. I'm so glad you're talking about this, because sometimes as parents to children, parents tend to think that they have to be really, really selfless and self-sacrificing for their children. But what ends up happening is they create self-sacrificing children who, you know, because they then become the role model, and that's what the children learn. What parents need to do is to show their children that it's okay for me to find joy and be happy. And so when the parents are well rested, because very often when I tell people, tired parents, I say, you need to take time off. You need to find your joy and take care of yourself and go take a vacation. And they go, I can't. My kids are too demanding. And I say to them, this is exactly what you're going to teach your children to do for their children. And they're going to be drained and exhausted. You know, you need to bring your joy to your children. You're bringing your exhaustion and your neediness to your children. So
right. So I think you've said it all, but still I'm going to ask you this. Secrets of a victorious mind.
Sorry, say that again. You blanked out.
I said you've already said everything so beautifully. You've already given all the secrets of a victorious mind, but I'm still going to ask you if there's something else you'd like to say. Are your secrets of a victorious mind?
Of a victorious mind.
Mind, heart, and soul, whatever.
Okay, so my secret of a victorious mind, heart, and soul, that's a beautiful question. No one's ever asked me that before. So my secret is, do not give your power to anyone outside of your own higher self. And when I say higher self, I don't mean give my power to my physical body, but I mean I give my power to the soul that is that has chosen to express itself through this body, the soul that is connected to the all that is, to God, the part of me that is God, the facet of God that has chosen to express itself through me. That is where I give my power. I do not give my power to any government body, any government agency, any mainstream news media, anybody that tells me about anything to do with COVID or anything. I do not give them my power, because we live in a world where people, you know, whether they are teachers, whether they are government leaders, whether they are gurus, we tend to live in a culture that spreads fear. And even religions, all of them, that at some point they all resolve to fear in controlling people. And when we are coming from this place of fear, I spent the first part of my life living in fear. It gave me cancer. Fear is actually what makes us sick. Even now, with what's happening out in the world, the bigger pandemic is the fear, not the virus. And so my secret is that do not give your power to the outside voices. Do not give your power to anything outside of you. Give your power to that which speaks through you. That will never fail you. And only when you silence those outside voices can you actually hear what is coming through you.
Profound. Such an evolved message. Wow. Thank you so much, Anita. You've been absolutely wonderful. And you are definitely one of those people, when you walk into a room, I'm sure you just light it up. I'm sure the lights actually just go brighter. Your smile and your energy is, I love it. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, thank you. You asked superbly beautiful questions. You are such a beautiful human being, and I'm so happy that you're here on earth, shining your light. Really,
Pleasure.
thank you.
Thank you. Take care of yourself.
You too, Aarti. Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. I'll show you her new book. It's called Sensitive is the New Strong. Here it is. Go get this book. Also, if you haven't read Dying to Be Me, please get it. It's an amazing experience. I was getting goosebumps while reading the book, and I had tears in my eyes and I was choked at different points, but it made me realize so many things. And I tried to put it in my questions so that you guys could also take away from today's talk, because I think she's a beautiful human being and she's been through so much. And we don't need to fear everything in our life, because she feared cancer and she got cancer. So stop fearing things, because what you fear is most near. I know it's been said before a million times, but remove fear from your life. Fears are lies, and they're just going to, not only pull your immunity down, they're going to attract negative situations, diseases, things that don't work out. Instead, try and, accept who you really are. Try and accept the fun elements in your life, experience the joy, the love, and try and be as happy as you can. I know it's not a very happy time for the whole world, but this is a time we have to make an extra effort towards, finding those little joys, whether it is something creative that would make you feel that joy, whatever it might be. Find your joy so that you reduce the fear in your life. And take care of yourself, and do read her books, Dying to Be Me and Sensitive is the New Strong. Love you all. And of course, if you want to find her, you can get to anitamoorjani.com. Yep, that's it for Secrets of a Victorious Mind. Thank you so much for joining me. Our next chat is on the 31st of May with Shaman Durek. And this is going to happen at 8:30 p.m. Yes, on the 31st of May. So do join me. Quickly going to go through the messages if there's anything that I need to respond to. Thank you for all the love and support. Thank you, everybody. Okay, time to sign off. See you.